In this lesson, you'll learn two beautiful ways to play Are You Lonesome Tonight? The first way, which is my favorite way to play this song, is to alternate between fingerpicking patterns. And then the second way, which is easier, is to use a strumming pattern with some optional variations. In this lesson, you'll find two separate play-alongs, the first for fingerpicking and the second for strumming. Now a quick note about tuning. For the fingerpicking section of this song, I'll be playing a tenor with low G tuning. You can follow along these fingerpicking patterns whether you have high G or low G tuning. Just keep in mind that if you have a high G, the patterns will sound slightly different on your instrument. For the strumming section of this lesson, I'll be playing a tenor with high G tuning. And for that section as well, you can follow along whether you're playing with high or low G tuning. Now let's get started by looking at how to play the chords in this song. Our first chord is G. I'm playing G with my index and middle fingers on the second fret of strings 3 and 1, and my ring finger on the third fret of the second string. Next we have A7, which is the first fret of the third string, and I'm playing this with my index finger. Our next chord is C, the third fret of the first string. Now you can play C either with your ring finger or with your pinky, whichever is more comfortable. Next we have D7, and this is our Hawaiian version of our D7 chord. So I have my index and middle fingers on the second fret of strings 4 and 2. Next we have E7. I'm playing E7 with my index finger on the first fret of the fourth string, and my middle and ring fingers on the second fret of strings 3 and 1. Our next chord is A minor. This is the second fret of the fourth string. Now you can play A minor with your index finger or your middle finger. Our final chord is G7. To play G7, I have my index finger on the first fret of the second string and my middle and ring fingers on the second fret of strings 3 and 1. Next, we're moving into our fingerpicking version of the song. So let's take a look at our 3 fingerpicking patterns and how to apply them. Each of our fingerpicking patterns is made up of 3 beats. So here's our first pattern played on a C chord. We're starting with an arpeggio, or a broken chord played through all 4 strings. Then I'm going back to string 4 with my thumb, string 3 with my index finger, and then strings 1 and 2 together with my middle and ring fingers. So the rhythm of this pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now let's look at pattern 2 on a C chord. I'm starting on string 4 with my thumb, then I'm going to string 3 with my index finger, string 2 with my middle finger, back to string 3 with my index finger, and I'm finishing on string 1 with my ring finger. The rhythm of this pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and. There are many occasions in this song where we'll play pattern 1 followed by pattern 2. So here's how this looks. And adding in the count for the rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now let's look at pattern 3. For this pattern, we're going to play string 4 with our thumb, and then strings 1, 2, and 3 together twice with our ring, middle, and index fingers. The rhythm of this pattern is 1, 2, 3. Now let's look at how to apply our 3 patterns to the song. Every chord that you see in the song is held for 3 beats, and each chord has the number 1, 2, or 3 next to it, indicating which pattern to play. There are 3 chords that don't have a number next to them. These 3 chords come at the end of a section or the end of a phrase. The first is at the end of our introduction. This is a D7 chord. And then the next is the D7 chord at the end of line 6, and finally the G chord at the very end of the song. And for these 3 chords, you can either pick all 4 strings together, or you can play an arpeggio or a broken chord through all 4 strings. This is a beautiful way to emphasize the end of a section. So starting with our introduction, we have the number 1 indicating pattern 1 next to G, A7, and C. So starting on G, we'll play pattern 1, then again on A7, then on C, and then on D7 we can either pick all 4 strings or play an arpeggio. Now I'll count out the rhythm for this introduction. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In line 1, we're starting on our G chord, playing pattern 1 and then pattern 2. Then we have 2 more G chords, again with pattern 1 and pattern 2. In line 2, we're staying on our G chord, going back to pattern 1, and then we're moving to E7 with pattern 2. Then we move to our A minor chord, first with pattern 1, and then with pattern 2. So here's how to count out the rhythm of lines 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you're enjoying this lesson, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then welcome. I'm Lara. I'm a musician, a composer, and a ukulele teacher, and I hope you have fun exploring my channel, my song tutorials, and my arrangements. In lines 3 and 4, we'll continue alternating between patterns 1 and 2 on D7 and G. And then when we get to line 5, here's where pattern 3 comes in. So we're starting line 5 on our G7 chord, and we'll play pattern 3 twice. Then to finish line 5, we'll play pattern 3 twice on C. In line 6, we'll play pattern 3 twice on A7. Then we'll play pattern 3 once on D7. And then to end line 6, we have our D7 chord that doesn't have a number next to it. So for this chord, we can pick all 4 strings, or we can play an arpeggio. We can slow down the tempo on this D7 chord at the end of line 6, and then pick up the tempo again as we move into line 7. For lines 7 and 8, we're going back to alternating between patterns 1 and 2. First on our G chord, then on A7, moving into line 8, we're going back to D7 with pattern 1, then pattern 2, and then our our final chord of the song is G. We're going to play pattern 1, and then we're going to end either by picking all 4 strings, or my preference is to end with an arpeggio. For this final G chord at the end of the song, we can slow down the tempo. The song sheet for this lesson has 2 separate pages, the first for the fingerpicking version and the second for the strumming version. You can download the song sheet from my Patreon page, along with my songbook covering all of the songs that I've shared in my tutorials. You'll find the link down below in the video description. Now we're moving into our first play along, so I'm going to play through the entire song, alternating between our 3 fingerpicking patterns, exactly as we've covered in the lesson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your memory stray to a bright summer day when I kissed you and called you sweetheart? Do the chairs in your parlor seem empty and bare? Do you gaze at your doorstep and picture me there? Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I come back again? Tell me, dear, are you lonesome tonight? Next, we're moving into our easier strumming version of this song. And for this section, I'm using my tenor with high G tuning. Once again, you can follow along whether you're playing with a high G or a low G. So let's take a look at our strumming pattern, how to apply it to the song, and then some optional variations. Here's our strumming pattern played on a C chord. The strumming pattern here is down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. So played slowly, here's how it looks. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. The rhythm of this pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Now taking a look at our song, all of the chords that appear in black are held for 6 beats, so we'll apply 1 full strumming pattern to each of the chords in black. The chords that appear in blue are held for only 3 beats each, so for these chords we're going to split our pattern in half. Let's start with our introduction. Here we have 4 chords and they're each held for 3 beats. So we're going to play half of our pattern on G, then the other half of our pattern on A7, then we're going to split our next pattern between C and D7. So let's count out the rhythm for the introduction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now moving into the first line, we have 2 G chords that both appear in black. So we're going to play our full strumming pattern on both chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now moving into line 2, we're going to split our first pattern between G and E7, and then we'll play 1 full pattern on A minor. So starting on G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rest of the song, we're going to play our full strumming pattern on all of the remaining chords, as they're all held for 6 beats. Now, to make it a bit more interesting, I want to give you a few optional variations on this pattern. Here's the first variation. For this variation, we're eliminating the down strum on beat 5 and the up strum that comes on the and after 5. So here's how to count out this variation at a slow tempo. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. And here's our second variation. For this variation, we're playing our final down strum on beat 4, so we're not playing the down, up, down that come at the end of the pattern. Counting this out at a slow tempo looks like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. To take this one step further, for the down strum on beat 4, instead of playing a regular down strum, we can play a nice soft arpeggio or a broken chord through all 4 strings. Here's how this sounds incorporating the arpeggio into the pattern. I like to use this second variation at the end of some of the lines to emphasize the end of a phrase or when the tempo slows down. As an example, if we look at line 6, we're starting on our A7 chord. Here I'm going to play our first variation, and then on our D7 chord, I'm going to play our second variation. Here we're slowing down the tempo, and then we pick it up again as we move into line 7. Another example is the final line of the song. Here I'm going to play our first variation on D7, and then our second variation on G. This is a beautiful way to end the song on an arpeggio. And a third example of where we can apply this second variation is at the end of our introduction. Here we're splitting our pattern between C and D7. So we'll play the first half of our pattern on C, and then we're moving to D7 with just one down strum or arpeggio. So counting out the rhythm for C and D7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This second variation is a great way to end the introduction as it gives some space between the strumming as we move into the lyrics. Now we're moving into our second play along using our strumming pattern. I'm going to play through the entire song using this pattern as well as the variations that we covered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your memory stray to a bright summer day when I kissed you? Do the chairs in your parlor seem empty and bare? Do you gaze at your doorstep and picture me there? Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I come back again? Tell me, dear, are you lonesome tonight? I hope you've enjoyed learning 2 beautiful ways to play Are You Lonesome Tonight? Have fun practicing and playing along with me, and thanks for watching.